If you enjoy movies, comic books, and pop culture, be sure to like and subscribe.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the REC Podcast, brought to you by REC Comics and Collectibles. I'm your host, Roman Chavez. With me, as always,
Erik Icarus.
Eric.
Yes, sir.
You can find us on the gram at REC Podcast. You can follow myself at Roman REC Podcast. And you can follow the shop at REC Comics. Or come check us out locally, 7679 North Union Boulevard in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And you can follow the man in black wherever black men are being sold. Oh, bad.
I didn't say that. That was all him.
Kids, we have the big tuna in the house. We have the big tuna in the house.
Yeah,
you have to do something, right?
Looking sharp.
Yeah, I usually do the fishing thing, but I'll come up with something new.
There we go. How you guys doing this week?
Good, man.
Yeah?
How are you? You seem topical this evening.
I'm topical, man. New comic book days tomorrow. The sun's out a little bit later.
Yeah, I'm digging that.
I had a little nicotine. I don't smoke, kids, though. A little pouch in the lip, all right?
I smoke.
Yeah, but it's cool, though.
I am cool.
Are you going to put your hood on?
No, I'm not going to do it.
All right. I'm
not going to touch my hair.
Oh, I wasn't going to say that.
I'm not touching my hair, AJ.
All right. Shout out to the juice. Big Tuna, you said you had something you wanted to talk about, an article that we might not know. Let's get this thing going.
Yeah, so the article is based on the topic of our episode today, and that has to do with what's happening with Marvel, especially with the MCU and these last few movies and series that have come out. I think, generally speaking, most of the fans and the critics would say that Marvel's had a few misses lately with some of their releases. Obviously, the tail end of Phase 4, and including the movie that was supposed to be the big kickoff for Phase 5, which in many ways has fizzled, and that was Ant-Man Quantumania. Did have the largest domestic opening of the three Ant-Mans, but I believe it is trailing both Ant-Man films in its worldwide.
Oh, I'm Erik.
As it currently so there was some breaking news today. Variety ran a report. A few other people are running it. I don't believe we've seen an official statement yet come from Marvel, but that is that one of their VPs, Victoria Alonso, has left the company. Now, Victoria Alonso has been with the company for many years. Her credits are far and wide, going as far back as the early, the first phase of the MCU. However, she did kind of get moved into this higher up position, overseeing a lot of the post-production, starting in like 2020, I believe, 2021. And so a lot of the projects that we've seen released on Disney Plus and the feature films, including Black Panther, she oversaw the production teams on the visual effects side.
Black Panther or Wakanda Forever?
Oh, Wakanda Forever,
Okay.
I'm sorry, yeah. And so I believe that she was in kind of this senior leadership role for those movies. She had kind of a lower role and was credited as, I believe, as some kind of producer capacity on other films, but she was pretty much the head of the teams that did the special effects on really the last several Disney and theatrical release Marvel products. Now, it's interesting that this is kind of being reported on right now, considering that the last two theatrical releases that we've seen from Marvel, that being Ant-Man Quantumania and Black Panther Wakanda Forever, a lot of people were very critical of the special effects, and there was a report out that the teams were really kind of worked to the bone in regards to meeting deadlines, that there was some jockeying about they moved people off of Ant-Man so that they could finish up Wakanda Forever, and so, you know, when it comes to looking at a lot of the fan and critic critiques of the movies, there's a lot of things we're going to talk about tonight, but I do think it's important to acknowledge that that Marvel themselves might understand that some things might need to change.
Yeah.
Which, yes, does bring us to our topic for this evening. I had not seen that, and I've been somewhat a Victoria Alonso supporter to an extent, because I like the amount and the broad spectrum of things that we've been getting.
We have been getting a broad spectrum. That's why it sucks.
Okay, we've been getting a broad spectrum, and to Jordan's point earlier, yeah, Victoria Alonso was kind of what Kevin Feige was to Avi Arad.
Okay.
You know, working her way up, but if you believe the internet, which we can't and can all at the same time, the same people who hate Kathleen Kennedy over at the Star Wars part also come for Victoria. So it is interesting that now, did they say anything like, is she stepping away, or is she, or she let go?
What I'm seeing, the reports are saying that Marvel's executive Victoria Alonso has exited the studio. So really, all that's being reported on right now is that she left. Now, again, some background information. She joined Marvel Studios in 2006 as an executive vice president of visual effects and post-production, and was a co-producer on Iron Man, Iron Man 2, Thor, and Captain America, and then she has been credited as an executive producer on Marvel Studio films ever since 2012's The Avengers. It was in 2021 that she was upped to be the president of physical, post-production, visual effects, and animation at Marvel Studios. Wow. And so that's really kind of that umbrella position that she's been in when some of these, what some would argue, these lesser, in terms of their special effects, in other ways as well, but it's really been her leadership where a lot of these critiques have really come together.
And we have seen that come to a head in this phase, in this last phase.
Well, you know, this always happens when a woman takes a wheel. It goes right into the ditch.
Yeah, right into the ditch, kids. We are on a roll tonight. And... You know, that's probably, there are two major problems. Erik alluded to one, and we've been talking about the other. We'll start with the visual effects.
Okay.
Everything from Phase 4, the Forgotten Phase, I thought...
The pasta phase.
The pasta phase.
What sticks to the wall? Yes. What's going to stick to the wall? Nothing.
You know, I think, I guess, you know, Spider-Man looked great. Is that under her heading, I wonder? I'm not entirely sure.
Well, yeah, I'm sure she had something to do with it.
Yeah.
I mean, to go across her desk, but I wouldn't say she... You know, that... I feel like Sony has a lot of input in that as well.
Yeah.
So, you know, they probably have not only Marvel's team working on it, but they have Sony's team. That's
and
probably why
the money into it.
Yeah, that's why that work looked very, you know, rendered very well.
And I thought Multiverse of Madness on a higher scale looked more, you know, on a higher percentage, looked really good. There were some things that didn't look great, but for the most part, I thought that looked good.
Well, it looked good in aspects of the practical, because Sam Raimi, you know, he still wants to have the practical effects.
Yeah.
Thing is, it doesn't mesh well with the MCU CGI.
Yeah.
And that's where I think the problem's coming in.
Yeah.
It's just two different worlds, two different multiverses, not congealing very well.
What's your least favorite of that last phase?
Oh, Eternals.
Which Eternals?
Oh yeah.
Even visually?
Oh God, yeah.
I loved the light.
It looks like. I mean, it looks like a better version of like those USA made-for-TV movies. Like it looks just a little better than that. Even when I would see the trailer, I'm like, man.
Oh man.
So like Eric's gonna go home and he's like, I'm gonna put on burn notice.
Yes. But I don't know. It's like somebody, you know, had a week left on the Adobe Photoshop. You know, so that's kind of how it was coming off. It didn't look. I don't know. If we're gonna start here. Let's talk about the visual effects. Yes, there was a big downturn from Endgame.
Yeah.
It just went straight down.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even gradual.
Yeah.
What was right after Endgame? I can't remember right off the bat.
Shang-Chi?
Was it Shang-Chi? Okay, we'll go Shang-Chi.
I don't think
no, Black Widow.
Black Widow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Black Widow had those bad explosions and everything.
Yeah, so we're going right there.
And you will recall, Black Widow did face some delays, COVID pandemic and everything. It was at the very beginning. And so it's interesting because in some ways, some have argued that maybe the reason why there was some shuffling around has to do with maybe the post-production side of it. Another part of that is the fact that, according to reports the last few days, my sources are telling me, and my sources being randos on Twitter, that all of the 2023 slated release Disney Plus shows have been moved from like spring 2023 to coming soon. Yeah. And so there is a big belief with fans right now that we might not get possibly any series that might include Loki,
which is disgusting. That's disgusting.
Yeah, that's very odd.
There's no reason that Loki season 2 didn't start 3 weeks after Kang or after Ant-Man. And the Wasp.
Yeah, no, you're right. It should. It almost set itself up.
However, this could be why. The problem could truly be that the visual effects, as Loki is going to be visual effects heavy. Mm-hmm. Secret Invasion is going to be visual effects heavy, of course. Not to mention the two other, you could call them the step kids, if you will, of the Disney Plus Marvel shows, and that is Ironheart and Agatha, Coven of Darkness, whatever.
Right. Coven of Chaos?
Coven of Chaos and Darkness.
They did change it.
They did change it, yeah.
Right.
Now, here's the thing. All of those shows right there, they're episodic. You're dealing with different production times. The getting everything together in terms of the visual effects, like you might actually render more special effects over the course of these series than maybe in like some of these movies.
Well, the runtime, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the runtime itself when it totals up. And so it could very well be that the reason why we might not be getting anything anytime soon might be the fact that they've essentially realized that what's happened is quantity has surpassed quality. And they may essentially have to build themselves in more time. Because again, if what we saw with Black Widow, with some of the really poor special effects that we saw play out in the movie,
and all the practical fights look good.
Yeah, the practical fights look good. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, there was some sequences where it's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
If the issue was, well, it's giving time for our post production teams, and that's the best we got, then it's concerning.
Right.
So I do think that, and I do think it's an easy shot for us to look back and be like, oh, that's like ridiculously fake or whatever. But at the same time, gosh, when you go back and you look at original MCU Phase 1 movies,
right,
so much of the movies, like even with special effects characters like Iron Man, like Robert Downey Jr. had a chest plate that he wore when filming scenes, and nowadays it's all just mocap.
Yeah,
it's
he's
all
not there.
green screen.
Yeah, he's
and
not
mocap.
even there.
Yeah, well, and the other big thing too was that, and I'll keep this as spoiler free as I can, but in the new Shazam movie, that a superhero cameo was a deepfake. That the actress, they couldn't find the wonderful time to show up, and so the behind the scenes photos show a different woman in costume, but will show a famous Israeli actress / model.
Wow,
that's
as
crazy.
that character.
Huh. I think that sums up the comic book genre in general, actually.
Yeah, it's bumming me out because
back to the visual effects point. Yes, the phase 1, 2, and 3 hold up. Yeah, there's a couple things you go, you can nitpick,
but only a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You could nitpick,
yeah.
But you go back 2 years, 1 year, it's what?
Yeah.
It looks terrible.
But that fight, that big planet fight scene in Loki with the one shot feel.
You know what? I'm going to say that you do see where most of the time and money went in most of these shows and movies.
Elias didn't look bad?
No, but
them with Elias looked bad.
So that's the thing. It's like, I feel like they're focusing on, instead of just like, okay, we should just spread this out a little, maybe go a little sparse on the CGI, kind of what they used to do.
Yeah.
I think they just spread themselves too thin is the problem. If we're sitting through the credits to get to the mid-credit scene, you see the amount of visual artists, it's insane.
Yeah.
And they still can't make it look halfway decent.
Yeah, for me, the worst of the phase was Wakanda Forever. Because Black Panther still looks really good.
Sure.
Except for the, Jordan said this earlier, the Killmonger and Black Panther fight in Black Panther 1 does not look
It doesn't hold
great,
up very well.
But the ships look good, the waterfall area looks good, but I just rewatched Wakanda Forever for the first time since I saw it in the theater.
Not good.
And I like the movie.
No.
I think Namor looks good in the sky. I think he looks good when he's flying. I think he looks good when he's walking, and he looks good when he's swimming.
They had to reduce his bulge?
Shut your mouth.
I will show you the picture.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
I have seen reports.
If anybody knows, Jordan knows a bulge.
Yes,
like they had
absolutely.
to reduce the dude's bulge.
Yeah, man.
Like
I believe it.
I mean, I get that, but
he's amazing. He was the first MCU character that I thought was attainable. I'm not going to get there, but he's not so out of reach compared to Chris Hemsworth.
Oh God,
compared to Chris Evans.
Right.
Yeah.
Even compared to Chadwick.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Guy's still ripped.
Yeah, jacked from the grave. But yeah, the visual effects are not up to snuff because they're not doing enough practical mix-in with there.
Sure.
We saw this in Blade 2. Remember when Blade fights?
Rubber Blade?
Yeah, the rubber match.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of rubber feeling in some of these fight scenes.
It's getting there, man. Yeah.
I do, them on the ocean doesn't look great.
Nope.
I actually like the stuff in Talokan. Eric disagrees.
Yeah, it's not good.
But you did make a fun point that Talokan doesn't feel big.
Right. We were talking Aquaman and Namor. There's the sense of scope in Aquaman is vast. You get a sense of this is huge. Yeah. When you see Namor's Atlantis, quote unquote, you get wow, this is not. I'm not getting that epic
It
kingdom
felt very,
feeling.
yeah,
you
it
know?
did feel very small.
Yeah, I didn't get the seeing Wakanda for the first time feeling.
Yeah.
You know, which, you know, that was great.
Yeah.
Those moments are getting few and fewer, man. It's insane, man.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, them getting, you know, Victoria leaving might, you know, push them in the right direction. Somebody's going to have something to say. Somebody's going to have something to do. But, I mean, she was going to be the heir apparent to Feige.
Really?
So that is...
Well, I'm glad they stopped this.
Yeah. I can't see Feige wanting to leave until it's on steadier ground.
Oh, yeah.
Until he wants to tell his story.
Well, I mean, I don't understand how he let this get so out of control.
A lot of
I mean,
irons
all
in
of
the
these
fire.
movies don't even necessarily... When we go back to you know, the phases 1, 2, and 3, there was a sense of cohesion.
Yeah.
When you watch these Phase 4 movies and TV shows, there's just like, there's like that little thread, but there's no real sense of like, oh, this belongs here, I get that, except for the random character cameos.
The gem hunt was so well done, so well thought out, and we like that. We like, you know, that's why we like Indiana
Well, that's
Jones.
why those, what they worked. You know, those phases worked so well.
Yeah.
Was because there was that overarching, we're gonna get to Thanos.
Yeah.
Now, Phase 4 rolls around, it's like, okay, Kang?
Yeah.
Okay.
You didn't do
cool.
anything with Kang to make me
Fear
worry about him.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, I mean, granted, I think, you know, there's points where, okay, I can kind of see this working.
Yeah.
There's a few of him out there.
Yeah. Quite a bit.
You know, there was, like, going back to what you said a second ago, there was no sense of building up to Kang. No little drops here, no hints to Kang, man. It's just all of a sudden, oh, here's your big bad. Here you go. Enjoy.
Yeah, it seems like Doctor Strange's spell in Spider-Man has bigger ramifications
We
than
can
it's
hope
given.
so.
Well, I mean, it seems like it, but we're just not talking about it.
What do you think?
I think that
Get deeper into it.
Oh, so I think that like him piercing the multiverse that way, Wanda being able to travel through the multiverse, like we're not focused on that at all. When that's clearly either a reason for or a reason that it's gotten out of hand.
Okay.
You know, if you believe the internet again, they say that you can time up when she becomes a Scarlet Witch in WandaVision to when the
death of He
Who Remains is like something's different.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like I don't know what's going to happen.
Right. I think that's a fun coincidence.
Yeah,
I hope Marvel capitalizes on
I
that.
hope so too. Yeah, it doesn't matter if you didn't think about it. That's what we think. Run with it.
Run with it.
Make it right. We like
Make it seem
being
like we were doing this low key the whole time, and I don't get it. I don't think they will.
I do think it is maybe a little unfair also to put all of the issues with like visual effects, you know, specifically on one person.
No.
And the reason I mention that is because one director that I think has done a fantastic job incorporating special effects is James Gunn.
Sure.
Both Guardians of the Galaxy movies look good.
Yeah.
And in many parts of it look good. You know, they made a walking tree look good. They made a talking raccoon look good. And then even on the DC side, like he did a very good job managing.
Starro looks great.
The visual effects in the Suicide Squad.
Yes.
And so I almost wonder if maybe so much of it maybe does not directly have to do with you know, this high-ranking, you know, EP, but perhaps it could do with the worlds that are being created for these movies, and whether or not the load of the world is being put on the visual effects team to create.
Right.
And so you know, again, you look at the Guardians movies, they hop planet to planet. You've got the inner space, you know, you've got the traveling, the hyperspace, all of that stuff. And it looks quirky, it looks different, but it looks good.
Yeah.
It fits the world they've created. But when you've got a movie with, you know, these Russian ballerina spies that are, you know, and I mean, it doesn't look good.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be the real world, and it doesn't look good. And so what's happened is some of these stories we see that the fake looking worlds look better than our real world.
Yeah.
And I think that might be indicative of a problem. And to Roman's point too, if you know where they went with Phase 4, where it was like an Asian buffet. You can try everything, but you're going to be wanting more.
Yeah.
Like, are we already starting to feel that in Phase 5? Because we're one movie into Phase 5 in this whole Kang, you know, universe sort of thing, and a lot of people are just like, I don't know. There's a lot of people looking for the exits.
Yeah.
And this is coming right on the heels of the DCU being rebooted.
Yeah.
And so again, if they can't even get a show, or maybe they get one show off the ground, are we going to get Daredevil before with its like 30 episodes? like it's a season of Law and Order.
Yeah.
Are we going to get that before we get, an 8-run episode of Ironheart? I don't know.
Dude, oh my god, and Ironheart's so bad in that movie. She doesn't feel real at all.
Well, first of all,
feel like a real person.
Shoehorned into that movie.
Yeah.
She is a real person, though.
She is.
It's not like a 3/5 thing.
Yeah.
Iron Child. I like to call her that. Because it didn't make sense for her to be in that movie.
No.
It really didn't. I feel like parts of that movie are brilliant, but then you could tell where there was some we got to have Riri in this movie. And that changed some of the aspects or some of the timing of the script. Like, oh, great, now we have to take this out. We got to put this in. And I didn't get a sense of her character.
No. And then giving her the full costume at the end is just so dumb.
Oh, it was
and then
so
taking
bad.
it away.
Yeah.
She couldn't build one herself.
Well, and
she couldn't do it without vibranium.
Well, she can make the detector.
Ooh.
She could do it. She could do it.
And they just kill her. Like, hey.
I think that's what Namor was like. Don't let her go.
Yeah,
She has all this in her brain.
I almost wonder. I mean, because she very clearly was written into the story. You could have had a character say. They could have said, some genius guy at MIT figured out how to crack the code and create the sensor thing or whatever. They could have done that. They chose not to.
Right.
And again, these things are not happening in a bubble. They are connected. The same people that were overseeing the production of Black Panther: Wakanda Forever were also the ones that were overseeing the pre-production on Ironheart, which is already filmed. They've already filmed this show. It's already finished. I believe it's finished its shooting schedule. They might obviously have to go back and do reshoots or something, perhaps. But they were showing set photos from Ironheart before Black Panther: Wakanda Forever came out in theaters. So is it maybe that Ironheart was supposed to launch shortly after, perhaps, and that was kind of meant to be the springboard? Is it again the thing with Ant-Man where it's like we've got this Kang thing, and then we're going to get a season of Loki that's going to focus on that, where the movies are kind of springboarding into the TV shows? That might be pretty cool. But it only works if you release the product and if you make a good movie that people want to see and a good show that people want to tune in for.
Yeah.
Well, that was the thing with those last 3 phases. They left you wanting.
Yeah. You couldn't wait till the next one came out.
Exactly. And then, we get here and we're oversaturated with a product that's not very good.
Yeah.
A few bright spots here and there. I mean, I'll bash a few of them. My favorite would probably be, I did kind of enjoy Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
To a degree. I love Doctor Strange.
Yeah, Doctor Strange.
Spider-Man's a home run.
Yeah.
But that's 3 things. I guess WandaVision is pretty good. Yeah. It's 4 things out of how many did they do in this phase?
I mean, it's such a spread.
And I didn't. Leaving this phase, I'm like, whoa, what happened?
Yeah.
There was no real consequences.
Yeah.
Like, what happened? And they were saying years ago that Phase 4 is supposed to deal with the trauma individually of the fallout from Thanos. And I didn't get any of that.
Except for Peter.
Yeah, Peter and Wanda.
Yeah.
That's it.
Phase 4 was like a gap year.
Yeah.
There you go.
It was like backpacking and hostels in Europe.
There you go.
Hostile Europe.
But no one was having fun.
Yeah. And when you have these problems on this thing, if you're not presenting it to us nice, then we start to pick apart everything else. I think the other big, if this is a 2-prong issues, is the infiltration of woke ideology permeating through this phase.
Sure.
Because I don't think anybody here thinks that diversity is wrong in the MCU. It's how you're doing
hell
it.
Is diversity?
What the heck is going on
diversity
here?
is.
We want more characters. I want this thing to go on. But Marvel goes out of their way, and maybe this is some hand in hand with Victoria, who knows, that we are getting these female-centric characters being pushed into the forefront and not earning their way into the forefront.
Sure.
And you could say that with Iron Man, this guy was he was in a cave and he built this from scratch.
It's true.
All right.
Yeah.
Steve getting beat up in alleyways,
right. Doing it all day.
Well,
there was a sense of, like you said, the earning,
the struggle.
There was a weight to these characters.
Yeah.
There was a struggle there. Going to what we're at now with the woke culture thing, it is. It's like, okay, look how diverse we are.
Yeah.
Look. Hey, are you happy?
To show it.
Yeah. We're throwing Riri into Wakanda.
Yeah.
She's black.
Yeah.
So they're homies.
Yeah.
And
why? She was such a caricature of she's
a caricature of Shuri.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's
the American Shuri.
Yeah. Light-skinned Shuri.
I don't think she was that light.
In spirit.
In spirit. Oh, okay, gotcha. In American spirit.
Yeah.
And
Roman, you're making a really good point, and that is, I think that almost two sides of the coin. If the issue on the one hand might be the visual effects problem, the other hand is its messaging, the stories it's pushing. All of that ties in together with one show that no one has mentioned, She-Hulk.
Well, that didn't happen.
in which we see where again we're given this character who routinely we see complaining about how they're not taken seriously and how and all these gripes and these things. And so many people were blasting it for its visual effects and how things looked.
It's pretty bad.
And like the twerking didn't look realistic. I watched hours and hours of twerking videos, and I just
in research.
In research,
yeah.
In research, you should see the Notebook. But I mean, that's the thing is like. Whenever it comes back to the question about diversity in any story, I always think about when I was a kid for the first time watching Alien and Aliens and Alien 3. I loved David Fincher before I knew who he was. You realize that no part of the movie franchise, the Alien franchise, does it belabor the point that Ripley is the protagonist.
Yeah.
It's not like it's Tom Skerritt's movie with Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah.
And so when you see the story play out, like you have faith that Ripley is going to get the job done because she's seen as being capable and confident, and she's the central part of the story. When you've got characters who routinely, and this is again another franchise that suffered from this, was the Ghostbusters reboot, where what you have is 90 out of 110 minutes are spent with the female scientists talking about how they're not taken seriously. And it reaches a point where you as the audience get so tired that you don't take them seriously. Yeah. I mean, I really truly want to see Marvel and DC and all of these different stories. I want to see diversity in storytelling, but you're telling the same story, which is, ugh, life is terrible for blank group. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to have all these obstacles which reinforce stereotypes of people that do not support whatever. It becomes, again, it's the same story. So it's funny that they're pushing diversity by telling the same story. Mm. Give us new original stories and we will accept the perception of the characters. But when you make the story to serve the purpose of diversity or woke messaging or whatever it is, you're automatically creating a ceiling in which the characters can only do so much because the patriarchy or whatever else may be. Things that could truly be existing problems, but they're written into the story. And I'm sorry, if you're dealing with a superhero universe, multiverse, you got this world-ending sort of thing. No one is going to be sitting around calculating whether or not the female superheroes are making 77 cents on the dollar.
I think that, there's that side of it, and then the other side of the coin is they have those obstacles written in there, but then they overcome them so fast. Yeah. They talk about, it's so hard for me, and then they get a challenge and it's just done. Yeah. It's within 10 minutes. Yeah. I would be okay with it if they were, going on and on about this adversity, but then there was a payoff. They had to push through. There was a struggle. There's no struggle. Yeah. Like that whole scene with She-Hulk, Jennifer, talking to Bruce, like, I do it all the time. And no. It's like, no, what? Like, you can't just say that because Bruce was going through this a lot longer than you controlled it that fast. Yeah. That made no sense. Yeah. I would say that show and then Eternals are kind of what is the anchor on the face.
Yeah, just holding them down.
You're just dragging that face completely down. Aside from all the woke stuff, it's just bad storytelling. Yeah. It's almost like Feige or whoever's in charge was letting the directors just get away with murder. Mm-hmm. There was no cohesion there, like I've said. I mean, I'm starting to hate Taika Waititi. Yeah. Love and Thunder is garbage. It's like you had such a platform to tell a great story about loss and tragedy. There's no one in the MCU that's lost more than Thor.
People forget
Thor lost his home, his family, his love, the love of his life.
His eye.
His eyeball. His side piece, like everything. Yeah. And then hammer. They turned it into a joke.
Dude. Yeah, and like people forget that Jane had cancer in that movie.
Right.
Like it should have.
Well, for the lulz, Yeah. Taika did it for the lulz, which I can get behind. Yeah, but the joke's got to be good,
It's a problem that needs to be fixed. And okay, aside from the easy thing of saying, okay, get better effects. What do they need to fix?
I can let bad effects go if the storytelling is
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
I'm okay with, like, yeah, I'll let it slide. 'Cause I'm still engaged.
Yeah.
It didn't take me out of it, you know?
It's like,
I still watch the first 3 Star Wars, not for the effects, okay?
That's true.
It's a good story.
I think we'd want to see some of these characters go through a struggle that doesn't seem so... And I guess we're sensitive to it because of the patriarch. You know, because in Captain Marvel, we see her, all these men are doing this to her throughout her whole life. Meanwhile, Tony's getting tortured in a cave.
Yeah.
You know?
Scraps.
We're going to go easier on you because you're a man, but if you were a woman...
Yeah. You know, it's like...
Because that's how Arabs do it.
But there is a story there to, like... You remember, you're appealing to a mostly male audience. And...
Well, back then especially.
We like...
torturing women.
We like badass women, man. Like you said, like to Ripley's point. Like, yeah, there's never a point in any of those Alien movies where I don't think Ripley's not capable. And even though she's like the last person standing in the first film, I mean, she goes through it.
She does.
She has to.
She earned it.
And she's not, she's freaking out in a way that seems real. Mm-hmm. She's reacting in a person in her position that seems real.
Right.
Sarah Connor, same thing.
I would say her thing is great because in the first movie, she's the one being saved. Mm-hmm. She's the one that's, the damsel in distress.
Yeah.
Get to movie 2.
Yeah.
She's in charge, running stuff. It's almost, that is how you do a proper character arc.
And you see the negatives of it because it's going from 0 to 60 and what it cost her.
Exactly.
And like...
Yeah, she can't relate to her kid.
Yeah.
She wants to kill the Terminator, like when they have to change out his chip and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, again, and when you look at those characters, again, what's happening is the story is creating the character. And so what we often have seen, especially in this last phase, is that the characters are already established.
Yeah.
Like whether it is the woke or it's whatever it is, there's a semblance of you already know what you need to know about this character.
Yeah.
And now we're going to put them in the situation. When really what we want to see is we want to see struggle. We want to see suffering. We want to see loss because that produces change. And so, yeah, absolutely. As someone who's grown up with action movies his whole life, like I would absolutely get behind Ripley. Like, give us a Joan of Arc. We don't want a Norma Ray. Like that's a Seinfeld reference. And so, like, if we're gonna see an improvement in the way the stories look, it really does start again with an improvement in the way the stories are told.
Yes.
And what stories they're telling. I can't believe just in one store surrounded by comic books, there are stories and there are plots and there are twists. There are things that they can do. They have the ability to do it. The question becomes are they willing to take the risk and produce something that maybe they feel if it's got a Marvel logo, people will go see it.
That's how it was.
And I mean, I don't know. Hopefully, if there are pretty large problems within the Marvel house, they'll get this stuff sorted. I'm not worried about Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
No.
I think James Gunn has done a fantastic job with these characters. He did a fantastic job with the Christmas special.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was good.
So
that was good.
So I'm not worried about that. But we've got Ant-Man Quantumania, Guardians of the Galaxy. What's the next Marvel movie coming out after that?
Hold on, there's something in there.
That is a problem.
That is a problem.
That is an exact example of the problem. The fact that I can tell you that Flash and Aquaman come out this year allegedly, but I can't tell you what the third Marvel movie is that's coming out. I mean, we knew it was Iron Man, and then with Nick Fury and the Avengers Initiative, and then what happened? We get boom, boom, boom. We get a Thor. We get an Incredible Hulk. We get a Captain America. We get an Iron Man 2. So we started getting this universe that we're looking forward to, and are we looking forward to it anymore?
And just listening to you. There's not a team we're looking for. We're not looking like we were looking forward to Avengers. We know we're going to get Avengers movies, but through a whole phase, we don't know what the Avengers are going to look like.
That was.
Are we going to get a young Avengers?
Well, I think that was the setup. I think going back to what Feige said initially a few years ago, maybe we weren't supposed to find a team in this phase. Maybe this whole phase was supposed to focus on individuals or a few people. Then we get the remnants or the fragments of whatever's left in Phase 4. Goes into Phase 5, and that's our new Avengers. Maybe that was the initial plan.
Yeah.
Maybe these are our people were rooting for. These are our new heroes.
Well, it seemed heavily implied that it was going to focus on Doctor Strange, Captain Marvel, and Black Panther.
That's kind of,
Obviously
things happen.
Things happened, and the internet backlash for Captain Marvel is crazy. I still like the movie. I was watching it the other day.
Actually, not bad. It's not a bad movie.
Yeah, it's just not as good as we thought it was. Go check out our first episode, kids. Oh, it's bad. It's bad. Yeah, I'm not worried. And I'm glad that DC is gonna shaping into its own. I'm already worried about them, but I've always been worried about them.
Well, I also think the fact that they're turning these kind of female characters into MacGuffins is another issue. Columbia Chavez, Riri Williams, they were like the thing that they had to get to move to the next part of the story.
Like they're not there.
Like, they're not even necessarily characters.
Yeah.
That was a big issue for me.
Yeah, because
this story doesn't happen unless you have America Chavez or whatever. Who is she though?
Yeah.
Like there was no time to delve into her just a little bit.
And
Maybe 5 minutes.
And they rob us of Wong and Doctor Strange having to throw down and bind Wanda or something like that.
Right.
Like there's a cool, instead of the watch your kids, they're gonna see, and those kids were so bad too. But we're not sure.
The Olsen's twins.
We don't know who the lineup's gonna be. I've got to assume everybody's coming back for Secret Wars.
Sure.
But broader relatable stories, because very few women are going back to watch these movies.
Which is funny because this is who they're playing to.
Yes.
And if you're turning them off to it when you're like, oh, but I made this for you. You look thirsty, Marvel.
My wife didn't like Queen Ramondra.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was like, man, Angela Bassett is in this too much. She's up for an Academy Award.
But I think she did a good job.
I thought she was great.
But I see her point because who is she again?
Yeah.
What is she doing?
Yeah.
The words she's saying are with conviction, but what?
And if you don't read the comics and you don't watch you didn't watch What If, you don't know that she was the High General of the Wakanda Army.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like and that's cool stuff, but they don't really.
We
talk
needed
about
that,
Yeah.
And I mean, I think what the problem was that we had too many things. We had so much potential, and that's why we're so disappointed.
Yeah.
Your disappointment is only as much as the potential. And I think would have been a good move is Phase 4 should have been the Wanda phase.
Yeah.
All these movies are dealing with the fallout of Wanda going crazy.
Yeah,
that's our House of Phase 4 should have been the House of M. Oh. Every movie is a shard of Wanda's thing. Oh. So they built her up to be like the big bad. So you have this character that you rooted for.
Yeah.
Then you hate. Then she gets her redemption.
Yeah.
Then we can move into Kang.
Is there any way we can still do that? I wonder. I don't know. That's definitely for.
But I feel like that should have been this phase.
Yeah.
Was because she lost the love of her life. Then her actions are what drives the rest of the phase.
Yeah.
That's why we bring Shang-Chi in.
Yeah.
The multiverse is falling apart.
Yeah.
We need all of our magical people out there, and then we see how the Guardians are doing it with it. The multiverse
space
has
magic.
Yeah, space stuff is happening because everything's falling apart. Yeah. So that would have been great.
It would have been a very interesting thing.
And then we all speculate that's how you bring in X-Men and yada. That would have been cool.
What if I was telling Jordan I had something wacky that I wanted to propose. I mean, for the oversaturation of this whole thing, I mean, what if they end at Secret Wars and they took like 2 or 3 years off and like, all right, reboot, Fantastic Four, X-Men are going to start this new phase, this new reboot of the universe. They can really build that out. Do you think people would be more receptive to continuing like a James Bond feel or just completely burning it down?
I think at this point, it's still salvageable.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I do too.
I don't think it's that far gone.
Yeah.
Because the public has spoken.
Yeah.
Nobody's happy with this.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be one of those people that say you can't like this movie. You shouldn't like this movie. Yada yada yada. Because I understand that taste is subjective.
Yeah.
But art isn't.
Yeah.
And it's terrible stuff.
Art is subjective.
In a way.
Yeah.
Okay, let's rephrase that. Art is subjective. Taste is not.
There you go.
Because it is garbage.
Yeah. Jordan, what do you think?
I don't think that Marvel is at the point where DC was, where they were like, we have to do something seismic.
Yeah.
I do believe that there's the talent that gave us that 2008 Iron Man is still there in many ways. In Marvel. the stories, the franchises, the characters, the plots, the twists, all of those things, they're still out there. I think that the general audiences have been much more willing to accept what Marvel puts out for them than what DC has.
Yeah.
And so I think for DC, their threshold was much lower. They weren't getting the kind of hits that Marvel was getting. They weren't making the money that Marvel was making. Now, from a business standpoint, I don't think you nuke the whales and like go back to zero and give us a new recasted Iron Man. Like I think you can move forward. I think, however, there does need to be an understanding and a recognition that of two things. Number one, stories have to come first. You give me a good story, and you know, I'm not gonna complain, or I'm not gonna feel as critical about other things like maybe the special effects or even sometimes the acting. If you give me a good story, you've got me hooked.
Yeah.
And I'll come back for a good story. The second thing that Marvel needs to do, besides giving us a good story, is Marvel really in my opinion, Marvel really needs to readjust our expectations. If the belief is that people are watching 8 episodes of this series, 4 episodes of this animated series, and all these things to understand or at least to appreciate the movies, that's not a winning argument. As much as Marvel, I believe, sees itself as a multimedia empire. I mean, it had TV shows. You had Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you had Agent Carter. It's had obviously the print success. Inhumans. Yeah. Dude, I watched the first 2 episodes in IMAX.
Yeah, me too.
I never watched any of the others.
Yeah.
After watching the second episode, I wish Black Bolt just whispered in my ear.
Yeah.
A careless whisper.
Yeah.
Now it's interesting that we talk about Endgame and we talk about Avengers and these things, which were stories that everything built up towards. But you know what? When it comes to realigning our expectations, you got to give us a belief that this is working towards something, because so much of Phase 4 gave us stuff that has not paid off and might not ever pay off. When are we going to see Hercules? I mean, that was such a big tease, such a big character to bring in Thor: Love and Thunder, and it's like,
yeah.
And so I just wonder if the priorities are realigned to say, number one, we tell good stories, and number two, we don't ask more for our audience than they're willing to put in. You didn't have to go back and watch Avatar 1 to go see Avatar 2. And when it comes to some of these, if we just look at a simple dollars and cents sort of thing, I get that Marvel has its approach. We're getting these MCU shows. We're getting X-Men 97. I'm excited for that. I really am. But you know what? It's a hard sell to tell my wife, hey, we're going to go watch this movie, but for you to understand and appreciate it, we're going to have to binge watch 8 hours of this show, which are just mediocre, so you can understand the backstory of this secondary character that may or may not play an important role in the movie. It's just, it's too much. It's too much. It's something that DC did not do. And I hope they stay away from that.
Well, they just couldn't. There was no need for it.
They couldn't. They couldn't, and that might be a good thing. And so I don't know. There's a lot of conversations that have to happen, but I would not be surprised if Loki is the only 2023 show that we get. We don't get Secret Invasion.
Oh, I really want to watch Secret Invasion.
I want Secret. I'm more excited for Secret Invasion than for Loki season 2.
Yeah.
But that's mostly because I think Secret Invasion is going to widely open up the story possibilities. I know Loki's going to give us a lot of answers. It's going to pose a lot of questions, and I love Loki season 1, but I'm more excited to see what the Secret Invasion story is going to do for the MCU.
Yeah.
And I just hope I get it sometime this year.
Yeah, it feels like it's not going to be as big as we want it to be, and that it could just be contained to this series, which would be a waste.
What's wrong with that? Maybe that's the problem. Like Jordan was saying, we need more self-contained things. Mm-hmm. There was a point, because like these movies, you could watch those like first 4 or 5 movies And the only thing that kind of gave you a sense of like, oh, it's moving on was that mid-credit scene. That was the point initially of those mid-credit scenes, was to branch out.
Yeah.
All those movies were self-contained.
Yeah.
You could just watch it and it'd be fine.
Yeah.
And I understand that building a universe, yes, okay, you may need to watch a few things to understand it.
Yeah.
But there was a time when you'd be like, oh, I kind of want to know about that side character. And you want to delve into the mythos. Now you're like, I don't even care.
See, but that's kind of interesting because in my mind, I would see a Secret Invasion storyline being a phase.
Yeah.
More than I could see a House of
I thought
M
that's
being
what
a
it was
phase.
going to be.
Yeah, I didn't think about
get there.
I didn't think about House of M as a phase until you said it. I like the way you said it.
Yeah.
If they would have done like 2 or 3
Because we already have
movies,
Wanda. Yeah.
Yeah, 2 or 3 movies in the phase that are House of
Wanda-centric,
M.
yeah.
And then we're just seeing the other characters in
Dealing
there.
with the fallout,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
I think that's the way to do it. I mean, Secret Invasion should be a phase.
It should be.
I mean, that should have maybe been phase 4 too, because we had scrolls. We could have led right into it. Yeah,
The blip is
The
is-
blip.
is
Scrolls,
Yeah.
the blip, give us the hand in in Daredevil.
Daredevil, yeah.
like,
There were ways.
Reports are Madam Web. We're going to see Spider-Woman in the Madam Web movie that no one remembers is coming out.
I still haven't watched Morbius. I'm never gonna.
Oh, yeah, that did
I still haven't
happen.
watched Venom 2.
Venom.
Venom.
Oh yeah, the Eminem song's the worst. Isn't it?
That's-
That's probably one of his worst songs.
Oh, hands down.
Okay, so recapping here, to save the MCU, maybe less saturation.
Yeah.
Build up the excitement again.
Yep.
Get us excited to go see your product.
Give me 2 shows, 2 movies a year.
That's it, like they used to. Remember when Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was such a big deal?
It was. Well, it was a big deal to me.
Oh,
I don't
no,
know.
I mean, a lot of people didn't watch it.
Yeah.
Going back and seeing it again, you're like, oh, it's cool how cute and quaint how they tied it into the
Yeah.
movies. It was the Fallout show, and it was
Berserkers
fine.
and all of that.
Yeah, and you've got Ghost Rider.
Yeah, and that's the thing is their incorporation of Ghost Rider. It was awesome.
It was.
Like the way that they worked it in. Like Ghost Rider is a character that could be a movie character.
Oh, God,
but
yeah.
it worked into the show
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
But then I for one I started getting tired on Shield when there was like the hold on, I've got to call Captain America.
Yeah.
You know, like it's so much of it was it was so ephemeral. It was just kind of out in the ether.
Yeah.
And not really. You're right. It was essentially damage control for
Yeah.
the MCU, which
Yeah.
was
Right.
cleaning up the mess of whatever.
Which is kind of a cool concept.
Could have been.
But then we get, we lessen the load.
Lessen the load.
So that way there's focus on maintaining the integrity of the visual effects like they used to be.
Yeah, it'll bleed into the other. It'll also then allow for story development.
Yes, like okay, we got
for story
time to
development.
branch this out and like have
You
the
can see
fight
what reactions are.
Exactly.
you know?
Yeah. Instead of like, oh, here you go. There you go.
Yeah, because we got shotgunned with a lot of stuff that we didn't care for as we did in the past.
Oh, for sure.
Wow.
And then maybe they're saying, okay, maybe this whole hyper woke thing is not working. Let's go back to showing that, oh yeah, heroes can be diverse and amazing because that's who they are.
Yeah.
Not because we're shoehorning it in here.
Yeah.
Let it develop naturally.
We're not trying to make you feel bad for this person, and then they, because they got picked on in school.
Right.
You know,
but then they can beat up everybody with no problem. And then the whole, I would say a lot of Phase 4 was the side, I wouldn't even say side character, but the first female lead saving the male lead in every situation.
Yeah.
Like Moon Knight especially. It should have been the Scarlet Scarab show because Moon Knight sucked, man. Yeah. And that did hurt me a little bit. Because Moon Knight's great. I like not Dog
Yeah,
Scarlet
Moon Knight
Scarab.
was not the star of his own show.
He really wasn't.
That's a problem.
like the Flash in his own show.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's okay. So we just lessen the load.
Yeah.
Make us excited again.
Marvel, your
tease
people,
us again.
Talk to our people. We'll get this thing squared
Pay
away.
me my money. Right
Kids, that's our show. If you like what we're doing, please hit that subscribe button. Click that little bell so you know when we have new content. Let us know what you think what your problems are with the MCU and how you think you can fix it. And maybe if we can get this going, that they already got rid of Alonzo. So hey, we got this. We got this.
Alonzo from Training Day. Alonzo,
Eric,
he's a hothead.
Do you have any final thoughts for us tonight?
Let's I think we're doing what we need to do, people.
Yeah.
We're voicing our concerns on social media. Not talking those incel a-holes who are like, oh, the MCU.
Yeah,
I hate that.
Yeah, I hate that too.
I really don't like that.
I love
It's
girl
ridiculous.
power.
I do too.
But, tell me a better story. I've seen this story and it's just okay. So,
that's it. That's all I
thank
got.
you guys for watching. Thank you for listening. I have been your host, Roman Chavez.
I'm still Erik Icarus.
And for the big tuna, we will catch you on the next podcast.